Hello and welcome back to the Chelmsford News Show. I'm Tom Christiano. Well, I'm very excited that I'm here with Jody Marchand, who runs an event out of Westford, right, every year?
It starts at the 4-H Fairgrounds every year in memory of my daughter Olivia. She had a horse, so it starts there. We have a 5K run or walk and a 6-mile, 23-mile, and 50-mile bike ride.
A 50-mile bike ride?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's a little something for the PMS people.
Which is fantastic. And today, we're here at Hart Pond on June 22nd, 2019. And today you'll see a lot of people going by. There's an event here for the PMC. It's a kids ride today. So I thought I'd meet Jody here and talk about her event coming up on July 14th.
July 14th, yes.
Yep, July 14th, 2019. And so your event is to raise funds for what cause, Jody?
It's for domestic violence. We raise money to give to Alternative House. The majority of the money goes, well, I should say this. A good amount of money goes to Alternative House, a shelter in Lowell. But we're also putting money in an endowment account. So eventually we can provide housing. Because if women are forced to vacate their home, they vacate with nothing. They haven't possibly been allowed to work. So we hope to be able to provide some sort of transitional housing.
That's wonderful, Jody.
I'm a victim of domestic violence in February 1st, 2010. My husband shot and killed my daughter Olivia, who was 17. He shot me in the bullet went into my left temple, shattered my jaw, and now sits in my right shoulder. So
it's still there, Jody.
I live in physical pain forever as well as emotional pain.
Oh, I'm so sorry about that, Jody.
Thank you. Well,
so every year, how long have you been doing this event now to raise funds?
When the year anniversary date came out of losing her, I wanted to do something happy in her memory and fun, and friends came up with the idea of the bike ride. And so this is our 9th year having it.
Wow, wonderful. And do you appreciate or like doing it? That's not the right word.
Believe me, it's a wonderful day, but it's a mixed feeling. I don't want it,
yes.
But it's in her memory, so I will always have her remembered. And it's also to raise awareness and to raise money for those in need.
Yes, about awareness about domestic violence.
It's an extremely common problem. It's known 1 in 3 or 1 in 4 women are victims of abuse, which can be physical, but it also can be emotional. It's all about power and control. I was not physically abused, but he knew he had lost control at the end, and he wasn't going to have it.
Yes, it's so sad. And you spoke wonderfully, too. There was a kind of a gun control kind of event in Chelmsford a couple of years ago. Yeah, it was a walk for whatever.
Yes,
but anyway, something about
a march for students had put together a march, and it was in the month of March. It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. There was like thousands of people on the Chelmsford Common. I think tons of people. I did videotape that as well. And you were such a wonderful speaker that day, Jody. I don't know how you could do it.
Thank you.
In fact, you speak in front of a number of groups, and
I'll speak to anyone that will listen. And I've been able to go into Boston now. I just got actually an award. And I also speak at school events and different organizations because it needs to be talked about. In fact, my goal is to speak to students 8th grade and up because I met my husband, I was only a year out of high school, and I'm having trouble getting into the schools, and it shocks me that they don't let me do that.
That is amazing.
It shocks me. Yeah.
Wow. So you met your husband out of high school, you said?
I was a year out of high school. I met him. I was a server at a local restaurant. And, I believe it goes generation to generation. He was like 9 years older than me. And our first date, we went out in his fancy Thunderbird to a restaurant. And so I thought, this is good. This is fun. But it was a lot of years of abuse.
And he unfortunately, he had at least one gun, right, in the house.
Oh, he had a lot of guns. He was a hunter, so I was used to hunting rifles being in the house, but unfortunately he had a powerful firearm called a Glock, and that's what he used to kill my daughter. Also, when the police opened up his safe, he had several dozen at least of unregistered guns. So it is a problem, a huge problem in our society that needs to be talked about as well.
Several dozen of unregistered guns?
Yes.
How does one find those? You don't know, right? Because I would have no idea where to look for an unregistered gun.
I don't know where he got them, or he bought them maybe legally and then never bothered to register. I don't know if he had friends. I will never know, really, honestly. I don't know. I know unfortunately, my stepson wanted those because my husband had told him he could have them if anything were to happen to him. And because they were not in a will, I was fortunate. The police took them and sold them, and proceeds went to me because I can no longer work, thanks to my disability.
Oh, that's wonderful, Jody, that they did sell the guns and use it for a good cause and for you.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. But it's amazing that a lot of people don't realize just having a gun in the house, very often they're used in domestic situations where people just lose their temper sometimes, and so there's no gun in my house because I would never want to lose my temper and do something that I shouldn't,
Well, there's a right for firearms, as we know, our Second Amendment rights, and I'm not against guns, I'm not against hunting, but people need to be more carefully registered, and because let's face it, there's people that should not be allowed to have guns.
Yes, that's for sure. That's why I believe we have to have a license to drive a car, right? It seems to me one should have to get a license throughout the country, I believe, to own a gun.
Right.
It just seems to be common sense to me. And I'm not in favor of assault weapons either being sold.
I mean, the gun that killed my daughter was called a Glock, and I looked up what that type of firearm is. It is not a hunting rifle. It's been used by the military, it's been used by police, and then in the article it said law-abiding citizens.
Yes, yeah, that's a famous name, I think, for guys. I've heard of Glocks, for the guns and things. And so your event is coming up on July 14th this year, right? You don't have any idea how many people have signed up or anything, right? Or how many usually attend?
Usually the attendance has grown, and I'd like to say I think we're about 400 people, and I hope it'll be even more. The longer we have it, the better attendance we have, and it gets more and more known in the town, in Westford as well as Chelmsford and other surrounding towns, because the bike ride goes to Acton and Concord, and Acton's nice enough to let me put up yard signs, and so I'm very fortunate. There's very good people out there.
There are, and so the miles for the rides again. Could you tell us the options that people have? I know there's a 50-mile ride.
There's a 50. I'll never see that one, but there's a 23-mile that's beautiful.
Oh, that's easy for me. I could do that.
Oh, then we'll see you there then.
I could do it. I hope so. Yeah, I hope to make it there.
But it's beautiful. It goes through Concord, Carlisle, and Acton. Absolutely beautiful. And then there's a 6-mile bike ride, which is great.
So even young people could do it, like 6 miles if they wanted. They're teenager, 10 years old, with their parents.
Young, yes, exactly.
That's fantastic.
And then the 5K run walk, which again kids do, and and young kids. And there's arts and crafts and face painting and a lot of fun things like that. We hope to do an obstacle course for kids. So yeah,
this is fantastic. I should come by and cover it for the Chelmsford News too, right?
Absolutely.
It's July 14th.
Yes.
Could you tell me the hours that I should
start? Well, because of the 50 mile, it opens up pretty early. I want to say like 8 a.m. or something like that. This is the yard signs that you'll see.
Oh yeah, good. We could show that. Yeah.
I'll have those everywhere, and then our poster
Yes.
it shows that the event starts at, let's see, the 50 miles.
Now
50 miles at 8:30,
8:30.
so you want to be there to register,
For
by
the
like
50 miles
8
and
o'clock
everything.
probably.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Oh, and it mentions the 50-mile, 23-mile, 5K run walk, 6-mile family ride.
Yes.
So
And then
starts at
there's
11
a
a.m.
barbecue. Most
barbecue.
most road races are a granola bar and a banana.
Yeah.
We, however, have a lunch that is catered by Bianco's Catering, and then Kimball's Ice Cream is nice enough to donate ice cream and
That's
hot
fantastic.
dogs. It's a fabulous
And
day.
they donate the ice cream.
They
and does,
do.
Does Bianco's donate the
They
food?
no,
too?
but they give us a very good price.
Oh, good,
They're nice
good.
enough to help us out every year.
That is
And then
wonderful.
we'll have raffles, silent auction, a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
So just to reiterate, this is July 14th, right?
Yes, yes.
It's about 3 weeks from today. Right?
Right.
And what day of the week is it? Do you remember? Is it a Saturday?
It's a Sunday,
Oh, it's
and
Sunday.
the 50 miles starts at 8:30, but the and the 23 miles starts at 10 a.m. and the 5K and the 6-mile run, they start at 11. So
At
that gives
11.
us plenty of time to come back and have lunch.
And if someone wants to come just to support the event, but not to bicycle or walk
Yes.
or run, they could do that as well, right?
Absolutely.
And make a donation or buy
Well,
something.
we did. We have for years not charged anyone for lunch, but this year, if you want to come for lunch, we'd love to have you. There will be a fee. I want to say it's only like $5, but it's going to a good cause.
Yeah, that's a good idea because maybe people could, if they could afford it, instead of just paying $5, they could donate maybe 10 or 15,
That would be.
and all that would
it's
go
all
towards
going
the
toward a
organization,
good cause. That's right.
which helps people, as we mentioned in the beginning, with suffering from domestic abuse and
That's
dos-
right.
domestic violence. There's some shelters that you're helping to
That's
sponsor
right.
and pay for.
And also, by the way, we are a nonprofit, so if anyone would like to donate or sponsor, because we can certainly use sponsorship, the money is tax deductible because we are a nonprofit.
Which is fantastic, Jody. So could you mention the website too, where they could get a hold of you?
Yes.
Is it
It's called the liveforlive.org, Live for FOR.org. We've got it written right here.
liveforlive.org?
Yes.
Beautiful.
And you go there and
Liveforlive.org. So hopefully,
First, I want to say the first 200 or 300, I forget the exact number, they do get T-shirts and some fancy water bottles this year.
wow,
Very
that's nice.
fancy.
That's nice. And well, that sounds great, Jody. Is there anything else we should say before we go?
Just please, if you could donate, if you could sponsor, or just come and have it's a great day, it's a lot of fun, it's a great family day, and anyone that comes in, I forget, first and second place will get medals, so the kids love it.
Wonderful.
I love it.
Well, I hope to see you there on July 14th, Jody.
Thank you so much. I cannot thank you enough, and I look forward to seeing you then.
Well, thank you so much, Jody Marchand, and it's great talking with you. And hopefully we could have even a bigger turnout at Jody's event this year on July 14th. Please sign up, or at least stop by on July 14th. If you stop by in the morning, I'm sure that you could come by around lunchtime. You could buy lunch there and make a donation at that time. So please stop by at the 4-H Fairgrounds.
And I will always, always, always want my daughter Olivia to be remembered, my 17-year-old beautiful senior in high school, and that girl should always be remembered in a happy way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jody. Thank you. Well, I'm here at the Hart Pond on June 22nd, 2019 with Tina Williams. She's the coordinator of the PMC Kids Rides, and she's been doing this for many years, right, Tina? How many years have you been coordinating this?
This will be my 4th year coordinating the ride.
4th year coordinating.
Yep, and it's the 10th anniversary of the Chelmsford Westford PMC Kids Ride.
Really? So it was going on for 6 years, and then you took over as a coordinator?
It was, yep. So we moved here to Chelmsford in 2011. In 2012, our oldest, who was a year and a half old, rode her first ride here in Chelmsford.
Nice. And that's how you got involved at first?
Yep. As far as the kids portion, I've been a long time PMC rider myself.
I was going to mention that. I think, did you say in your newsletter that you did, this is your 30th year or something?
Yes. Yep.
That is amazing.
Yeah. I'm old.
How many miles is it now? How many, over those 2 days or something?
It's like 197 miles.
No, 197 in 2 days.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm a biker, right? But to me, even that's a huge amount of miles. If anybody ever tried to bike 100 miles in one day,
It's awesome.
you'll know how difficult it is. Oh my God.
So
Well, I hope you have.
Saturday's longer. So Saturday's like 114 miles. Wow.
Sunday's an easy day.
Yeah. 80 some miles.
Well, you have to kind of hope and pray for good weather, right? Because
Yeah.
it's not postponed, I imagine, for rain.
No, we ride through anything and everything.
Oh my
yeah,
God.
Yeah.
And you raise a lot of money for that, right? You have an online website
I
where
do.
people could donate?
Yep. Yeah.
Do you
So-
want to mention what that is?
Oh,
Do you remember?
So I have
How
a
they could find you?
yeah. So if you just go to the PMC.org, hit donate, and put Tina Williams in, you'll hit my page and read about why I ride.
Wonderful, and that's fantastic. And so first we'll talk a couple of minutes about this right here. So how many people signed up today, approximately?
This morning when I printed the list, literally heading out the door, we had 73 riders. But in the 2 hours in setting up, several other riders had registered that just came on to get their gear and were ready to roll. I believe we had some walk-on riders who just saw the advertisement along the route and came to join us.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So everybody who rides and their families, they make a donation, right? To the
Yep.
PMC to fight cancer, right? To
Yep.
find cures for cancer.
Exactly, yep, yeah. So basically the PMC money is the so-called the spin money to get research started. So it's money that's used at Dana-Farber to start research in various forms, to find cures for various forms of cancer, where the NIH won't send funds to support. So once the ball gets rolling, and that's what they use the PMC money for, and they're on to something, and they say, hey, we're finding good data, then the government will kick in and say, okay, all right, you can keep rolling with it.
Wonderful.
So we the money that Dana-Farber uses comes from us to kickstart that.
And we're getting closer, not myself, but other researchers are getting closer to cures every day, right? Cures for cancer.
Yeah. So especially childhood leukemia. I mean, that has made such great strides. Don't quote me on it, but, before I started riding, the, percentage of children that were surviving was quite low, and now it's nearly 98% or more. I mean, it's not the death sentence it used to be. So.
That is fantastic, and that's in the past 30 years approximately.
Yeah.
From low single-digit percentage to like 90-something percent survival for the young children.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
And, now they're using, a lot of research now is going into immunotherapy to try to find ways to conquer cancer in a different fashion. So, it's really interesting to find cures, but it would be also really not better, but important to find ways to prevent cancer from starting, and have maybe tests that could be done to see if people are destined to be diagnosed with something that's unbeknownst to them.
Yes, it's wonderful. And so how much does PMC raise approximately each year, or in total now? Do you have any those numbers?
So totally last year we raised $56 million.
Wow. That's all in Massachusetts, right?
Total,
Or Pan Mass?
The entire Pan Mass. So we gave a check to Dana-Farber for $56 million.
That is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's awesome. And our goal this year is $60 million. And so we're just rolling.
It's amazing. And this event here brings up some thousands of dollars or something, and then you donate, plus your own ride brings in thousands of dollars.
Right, yep. So I made the personal goal for this ride, being the coordinator, of raising $20,000 this year. Last year we raised a little over $15,000. So I'm hoping we're able to meet that goal or surpass it, which would be great.
That is fantastic, and I could talk to you for a long time in this, but I know you're busy today because Tina is the coordinator of this event today, so I don't want to keep you too long. But before we go, I wanted to talk a little bit about your work here in Chelmsford. You're a physician's assistant, right?
Yes, I am.
And you work at a clinic here at the Drum Hill area?
Yeah, it's called AFC Urgent Care.
AFC Urgent
Yep,
Care. And
yep.
you began it, what, a couple of years ago
2
or
years
something?
ago, right after Mother's Day. Yep. Yeah.
And how's it going over there,
Oh,
Tina?
it's really great. I love what I do. I feel like I'm sort of like the town PA. I get to see so many people and make them feel better. So it's a rewarding job.
And if someone has insurance, say, they could go to your place in an emergency or something and hopefully get covered, right? You have procedures for that and paperwork.
Yep. Yeah.
Wonderful.
So we do nearly anything that could be done shy of needing to go to the emergency room for something that obviously needs emergent care.
And if someone doesn't have insurance, unfortunately, they could come there as
They could
well,
come, yep.
and they just pay the regular
Sort of like a
rate.
flat rate, and then there's different, pay scales or charges for different treatment scales. So, yeah.
Well, hopefully, if anybody is ever injured or needs an emergency care or regular care, stop and see Tina Williams over at the PM, what's it called? Not PMC, but
AFC.
I have
Many letters,
PMC in my
Tom.
mind. AFC. And over in the Drum Hill area.
Yep.
It's been open 2 years in Chelmsford now. Someday we're going to do a show there. I'm going to do a little Chelmsford News Show over there myself with Tina.
Oh, that'd be great.
Hopefully in the fall or early fall, because a lot's going on this summer, as you could imagine.
Yeah.
But thank you very much.
Money.
Raising PMC. So thank you so much for
Thank
talking
you for
with
your
you,
time.
Tina.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk to you more, but you have to go and do so many things.
Yeah, I got
and
hundreds of people, over 100 people here.
over 100 people here.
Yeah.
Well, good talking with you,
No,
Tina.
thank you,
Thank you
Tom.
for all that you do.
Oh.
And I know this means personal things for you and why you're involved with it. And it's just a wonderful thing, all that you're doing.
Oh, thank you, Tom, for your time.
Thank you.
There is no question that the rising cost of healthcare, prescription drugs, premiums, all of it, it's like the biggest bucket of cost that is causing harm to our working and our middle-class families, our small businesses. It's, I often said last year, and I still say today, we've got a growing economy right now. We've got record unemployment. All of that is true. But when I talk to families, that's not the issue. The issue is this high cost of living that is so dramatically outpacing people's earnings. That's what's crushing us, right? I can't afford my kids' college. I can't afford my prescription drugs. I can't afford the outlays I have to make for health care. That struggle is real, and we have to confront the cost of health care. That is the main reason, because of that growing bucket of cost. It's the reason why I'm a co-sponsor of Medicare for All. Now, we need bold change on health care. We need to make health care have a broader reach, extend to more people. And there's going to be lots of proposals, a suite of proposals addressing making health care universal and making it more accessible and more affordable for people. But I don't want us to lose sight of one thing that's really important. We are still protecting the right for people with pre-existing conditions to have access to health care. It's crazy to have to say that, right? 24 million people got health care, access to reliable health care when we passed ACA. And it's under threat, it's under attack all the time. The Texas lawsuit, the introduction of junk plans that try to backdoor and offer plans that discriminate. Guys like my dad who have MS, I'm not unique. We all have somebody in our family, in our orbit who has a pre-existing condition. So I do look at this as a short-term fight and a long-term battle. We have to make sure that we shore up we have to make sure that we shore up ACA, we stabilize ACA. We have to make sure, and this is an area where I think we are going to have bipartisan agreement with Republicans, is on prescription drugs, right? When we sort of set out this year's agenda, it was HR 1 for the people. It was how are we going to lower prescription drug costs and how are we going to create more jobs and give more good-paying jobs by investing in infrastructure. So I do think prescription drugs is going to be one of those areas where we're going to be able to work with Republicans and get something passed this year. But we have a lot of work to do on healthcare, and we're looking at every single proposal. We're reading them all in depth so that we understand them all. But anything that moves the ball toward universal, affordable coverage, we're going to be supporting in this Congress.
This is my 1994 Mazda Miata. It's now 25 years old, and as you could see, it looks pretty much like new, even though it has over 86,000 miles on it now. I've owned this Miata for over 20 years now, and it's the best car I've ever owned. I also have a car to use during the winter and for shopping, of course. But this car, I put about 1,500 to 2,000 miles a year on it for the past 20 years. And it's a lot of fun to drive every time I take it out. So this is just a quick tour of the car so you could see all about it, what it looks like. You could see the front end with the headlights that retract. I prefer this style to the next generation, which has the headlights which stays up in the front there. I prefer this original style. But the best style, I think, is the current Mazda Miatas, which came out beginning in 2016. I think that's the best design so far. But this car has been great for me. You could see what good shape it is. I baby it all the time. I wash it with a sponge every time. It might get a little wet or something. And of course, it never goes out in the winter months. But you could see what good shape it's in. I just bought these 4 new tires a few months ago, and they were about $270 total, I believe. So given that their tires are small, they're inexpensive compared to the newer tires on the SUVs. And this is what the back of the car looks like. And now we'll look at the interior, which I like a lot. It's a 5-speed manual transmission, which I would recommend for anybody who gets a sports car, just to get the manual transmission. It's a lot more fun. You could see it has the speedometer, the gauge with the RPMs, and the gauge for the heating or cooling of the engine, and the fuel gauge, and then the oil temperature gauge. You could see all that right in here. And I love using this MP3 music player, which I just plug into the power outlet. It has, I've had that for about 9 years now, and it's very reliable, that MP3 player. And here's a storage area, and I like the cup holders here. I always use 1 cup of water when I go for a ride, or bring 1 cup. Here are the seats, which are cloth seats, but I actually prefer these to the leather seats because the leather seats, I think, get too warm in the summer months, and I also don't like the way you slide around in them. So for me, I prefer the cloth seats over leather seats in any car. The top is great. You could put it up and down in less than 1 minute manually, but that's good because I checked into the BMW Z4s, and the electronics to put the top up and down constantly break down because they get wet because it's poorly designed. But anyway, you don't have to deal with electronic controls that would break in this car. So I highly recommend these Mazda Miatas. This 1994, they have 133 horsepower, and they weigh about 2,200 pounds. But that's a good thing that they're so light, because that makes them nimble and fun to drive because they're so light. They go 0 to 60 in 8 seconds. So I'm very pleased with this car. I've owned it, as I said, for over 20 years, and I plan to keep it for the rest of my life because it's just such a great car. And now it's kind of part of the family, and I've owned it for over 20 years. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, I'll make another one of my winter cars someday. Ciao.